This might just be the best new golf ball of 2025, but it's not a Titleist Pro V1 or Pro V1 X. I think this is going to be the golf ball that's going to have all the major manufacturers worried in 2025, and the price is the icing on the cake. Now, when you think of the brand Mizuno, your brain probably automatically jumps to thinking of some of the best soft feeling irons aimed at the better players, and in more recent times, probably some of the more forgiving drivers on the market. But with the launch of the Mizuno Pro X and the Pro S golf balls, Mizuno now makes some of the best premium golf balls on the market. Now, the Pro balls replaced the RB Tour golf balls, which I've tested before and I really enjoyed using them, but they didn't really have the feel or the durability I was looking for from a golf ball that you're going to spend upwards of 40 to 50 pounds on. So Mizuno say they've addressed that with the new Pro S and the Pro X with a 6% thicker mantle layer, a 12% thinner cover, which they say enhances the ball speed without sacrificing that feel or control that you want into and around the greens. Now, the Pro S is the lower spinning, lower flying, softer feeling golf ball, and I have tested that one and I was pretty impressed with it, but it didn't really give me the performance I was looking for. It's the Pro X that really stood out for me in testing, and that's the one that I think is going to have all the major manufacturers worried in 2025. You take a ball out of the sleeve for the first time. I've got one here. I love the look of this golf ball. So the Pro X is distinguished by the blue play number versus the Pro S golf ball. And I love this Mizuno Pro scripting here, but it's a very cool looking golf ball. It's a very premium looking golf ball. You can tell it's sort of very well made. I love the side stamp on this golf ball as well. It's got the double-ended arrow, so if you like to use an arrow for your alignment, it's got that on there to help you on the greens or off the tee if you like to use it off the tee as well. So it clearly sort of passes that initial test. When you take it out of a sleeve, often you can tell with a golf ball, does it have that premium look and feel? It absolutely does, but does it perform? Well, that's something we need to find out. So let's go and give it a thorough test. So let's start with driver to see how the Mizuno Pro X ball compares to the brand new 2025 Titleist Pro V1 X. Now, I tested both of these golf balls indoors on the Foresight Sports GC Quad launch monitor, and you'll see from the data that I'm going to flash up on the screen here now that it was actually the Mizuno Pro X that was giving me a little bit more ball speed and slightly lower spin, and as a result of those numbers, it was also giving me a slightly higher carry distance number. But we know testing golf balls on a launch monitor indoors isn't really a completely fair test. It doesn't take into account the dimple pattern, how that affects the flight and the distance output golfers would experience. So we need to come to a real world environment as we have here at La Hacienda. It's the 10th hole on the Heathland course. Going to hit a drive with each and see how they compare. We have a look at the trajectory, have a look at the distance output. Obviously it's not a completely fair test because they will land in slightly different places, they might get slightly different bounces, but it might give us a decent idea as to how they actually compare in a real world environment. So I'm going to hit the new Titleist Pro V1 X ball first. This is a par 5 down the hill, just going to hopefully turn one around the corner. Alright, so that's a pretty good shot. Just turn it over a bit, but I think that might be the line on this hole. So we hit a good one there with the Titleist. Let's hit one with the Mizuno and see how that flight compares, and then we'll go down on the fairway and see where they've ended up. So try and swing it the same. I hit that one pretty hard with the Titleist, so I'll try and hit this the same. Or push that a little bit versus the Titleist, but it was a good hit. Two good shots there with both of those golf balls. Let's go and see where they finished. Right, so we're down on the hole here to see where those tee shots finished. I actually hit 2 drives with each golf ball, and you see they're very comparable in terms of distance output. So these are where my 2 Titleist Pro V1 X golf balls finished. Haven't touched them at all, just come down the fairway. And if we pan along here, you can see these are where my 2 Mizuno Pro X golf balls finished. And when you consider the tee is pretty much straight that way, the distance output is very similar. You could argue the fact that the Mizunos have finished in the rough, that maybe they would have actually on the fairway travelled a little bit more, but clearly The distance is very comparable off the tee, not much in it. The Mizuno Pro X is definitely not shorter than the Titleist Pro V1X off the tee with driver, and the trajectories were very similar. Both nice and stable, both very impressive, both felt very fast, but let's go and hit some iron shots and see how they compare into greens. Right, so now we're moving on to the mid-iron performance of this Mizuno Pro X golf ball, and I'll flash up the data here. You can see that this is where the Mizuno really started to separate itself a little bit versus the Titleist, and that I definitely noticed a little bit more output in terms of carry distance, but also you'll see the descent angle in particular is a little bit steeper, and that's going to give you, in a real world environment, you would hope, a little bit more stopping power into the green. So it's interesting to see that the ball goes a little bit further and also stops a little bit quicker. But we're going to test that here with this particular shot. We've got a flag down there about 165 yards away, so a pretty good 7-iron for me. And we're going to hit some shots, see where the balls carry, but then also see how they react when they land on the green. The greens are soft here at Lahathi, I had a little bit of rain yesterday, so let's hit one with the Mizuno first, and we'll see exactly sort of where it finishes and how it reacts when it gets on the green. That's a decent strike with the Mizuno, leaking a little bit right. Looks like it carried just short of pin high. Let's see how the Titleist compares. That was a decent hit. Oh, a little bit skinny. We'll have to hit another one. That will not do as a comparison. That might be going in the trap. Yeah, that was in the trap. Right, let's hit another one with the Titleist. Very similar line and strike to the Mizuno. Very similar. I think that carried about a yard shorter than the Mizuno. We'll have to have a look on the drone footage, but yeah, it's clearly the Mizuno in launch monitor testing was giving me a little bit more distance output, and that is reflected. I'd say maybe I hit the Mizuno slightly better, so you could say just for a little bit more distance and maybe a slightly higher trajectory. I don't know if you picked up on the camera there. I'd say it went a touch higher than the Titleist, which I think is going to give you a bit more stopping power if you're playing into firm greens. Could be very useful. I hope you're enjoying this video, and if you are, make sure you click the like button and do subscribe to the Golf Monitor YouTube channel so you don't miss any more videos like this. Equipment, tips, rules, you name it, we've got something for you on our channel, so do hit that subscribe button. So now we move on to the short game, and this is where the pendulum sort of swings back in favour of the Titleist a little bit versus the Mizuno, because if you look at the data, I'll flash up on the screen, there's you can see on the 50-yard pitch shot, the Titleist Pro V1X does actually spin a little bit more, but the Mizuno still spins enough to generate, you would think, enough spin around the greens to get you up and down in most situations. So we've got a pretty basic chip shot here. I'm just going to chip a couple of each away and see how they react on the green. You can tell, if I just do a little field test here, this is the Titleist Pro V1X. And that's the Mizuno. Not much in it in terms of the sort of acoustics and the feel and feedback you get off the face. These are obviously two of the firmer feeling premium options in the market. If you wanted a softer feel, you'd go for the Pro V1 versus the Pro V1X, and similar with the Mizuno, you go for the Pro S versus the Pro X. But let's see how they sort of react on the green. I probably wouldn't normally carry this chip shot on the green, but I just want to chip one with each and see how they react and how they run out, and whether there's any noticeable differences in how they sort of react and perform on this sort of chip shot. So this is the Mizuno first. I've nipped it nicely. Obviously hit it a bit too far, which is fine. It's run out quite a lot, but I struck it quite nicely. So I actually released a little bit more than I thought it was going to. And this is the Titleist. Let's see if there's any difference here. Similar. I'd say it popped up a little bit higher. Run out a similar amount, maybe not quite as much as Mizuno. Should we go one more? Maybe try and get this one actually quite close to the flag, which might help. Obviously hitting it a little, I'm trying to land it on the green, but see if we can get it a bit tighter, see if we can really nip these nice and spinny. Oh, that was a nice spinny one. Just on the green, spin, a little bit more grab, but did release out a little bit more. Let's see if we can do the same with the Titleist. Last one. Oh, I spun that one nicely. Oh, that checked up definitely a little bit more than the Mizuno. So clearly Maybe if there is one area of performance you're sacrificing with the Mizuno, it is on that sort of nippy, spinny chip pitch shot around the green. You might get a little bit more control out of the Pro V1 X, but the Mizuno still performs well enough to get you out of most situations. So hopefully that's given you a flavour about why I really love this Mizuno Pro X golf ball. We've seen from the testing that I've done, the data, the on-course testing, it's as long, if not a little bit longer than the Pro V1 X in terms of driver distance, but also 7-iron output as well. I was definitely carrying it a little bit further with the iron. Yes, it doesn't quite spin as much around the greens, but it still really performs to a high level, and I've tested this ball over a couple of rounds now, and the durability has really stood up to me as well. And the real kicker here, the thing that I think is going to convert probably more people than you might expect, is that this golf ball comes in at £40 or $48 a dozen, which is considerably cheaper than where the Pro V1 X is. Don't get me wrong, the Titleist Pro V1 X is a fantastic golf ball. Tee to green performance, feels excellent, really durable, very consistent, stable, etc, etc. But for a lot less money, you're getting a very similar performing golf ball in the Mizuno Pro X, which is why I think a lot of golfers, myself included, should definitely consider switching to this new golf ball from Mizuno. It's put them firmly on the map in the premium ball market. And if you're interested in buying a dozen to try them out for yourself, I'll put some handy links in the description below where you can get the best price for these golf balls in your area. But that's all from me. Hope you enjoyed this test from the beautiful La Hacienda Golf Links Resort in Spain. I'll see you next time.